Hi, and welcome to another installment of the Booze Briefing, where I get to answer your dumbass questions about my book series, Joe's The Cold War Diaries, Volumes 1 and 2, with Volume 3 coming soon. Today, this is the first time that I'm actually answering questions submitted by you guys, the readers of Joe's. And dare I say fans, I hope so. I'm a fan of my books because it's my memories, right? These are things that are treasured memories for me and funny stories and stuff. So I'm my own biggest fan. All right. So, but today we had a couple questions from Robbie. I'll try to get to both of them. If not, I'll do a second question later. But his question is, what is my personal favorite story from the Joe's books? And that's, I mean, man, that's like trying to say like which of your kids is your favorite. There's so many to me, but I'm going to kind of diverge a little bit from his question. I'll give you one story from each of the books that I think is my favorite. Hands down, the easiest one in Joe's Volume 1 is Two Men, One Penis Pump. For those of you who haven't read the books yet, you're sitting here going, my God, Two Men, One Penis Pump, what the hell? Obviously, it's a take on Two Girls, One Cup, some of those kind of viral videos that went around, some years back. It's a hilarious story, and it's a rare time for me in that story because I was the one that got pranked, and it's funny, it's iconically funny, it really is, and I don't want to obviously tell anybody that's watching that hasn't read it yet. I don't want to spoil the story, but it is by far and away, I think, the funniest and best story in Volume 1. Volume 2. It's a little bit of a toss-up. I'd have to say it's a toss-up between Fire in the Hole, which involves the throwing of an MRE bag. Just leave it at that. Those of you who have read the book kind of know what I'm talking about. Maybe between that and Heidi and the Spankenheimer twins. And this is getting into the realm of my titles, which someone actually submitted a question, which I'll do in a future episode about how I come up with these titles for these stories. But that's a different day. I'd say those are probably my candidates. If I had to pick one out of that book, though, maybe Heidi and the Spankenheimer twins. I think that one is just such shock value, and it's almost like it's surreal. That story is very surreal, and when you read it, if you haven't read it, you'll know why. And the second question is, get my old man glasses on here. When do you know when a story has passed from being a story to being legend? And that's a really good question, man. I think for me, it's a factor of time, right? So 35 years later, are you still telling that story and being asked to tell that story again by people who have already heard it, that already know about it, or other people telling that story that weren't even there? Like, I heard this story, and they tell their kind of recollection of that story. I think when it becomes part of the fabric a little bit of that era, of that time, of the people that were involved in and around it, I think that's when it becomes legend. There's plenty of funny stories that happen. I mean, these books are full of them. But I don't get asked around a campfire, hey, tell that, this story or that story. There's always that one or two that kind of bubble up like, hey, the new guy's here. He hasn't heard this story. Tell him that story. And I think that's kind of the benchmark for me, is the retellability. Is it socially conveyed by other people? You've got to buy this book because there's this one story in there, or that kind of thing. I think that's, to me, and the other one maybe is nicknames. A lot of times people will earn nicknames and there's a story involved in it. And that kind of travels with them probably for the rest of their life. How'd you get that nickname? Oh, let me tell you, So I think those are kind of the two things there. On today's Booze Briefing, by the way, last time we had Heaven's Door, which is Bob Dylan's brand. And this is one I have to thank my brother-in-law, KMFB, Keith motherfucking Brown. This is Bib and Tucker, and you may not be able to see that because it's a raised insignia on the bottle, though. But this is Small Batch Bourbon whiskey. It is 92 proof. It's kind of the usual there. This is batch number 24, aged 6 years. And this is probably my go-to be honest with you. It's relatively affordable. This is a brand new bottle. This is relatively affordable stuff. depending on, maybe where you live or something like that. But yeah, Bibb and Tucker. In fact, I believe in, maybe it was Fire in the Hole. One of the stories in volume 2, I actually referenced this particular bourbon here. We'll give this a nice swig here. Let's see. Man, that is some smooth stuff, man. This is a great, I wouldn't mix this with anything. A lot of people like to mix bourbon in, make different cocktails. Man, this is a sipper, okay? This is a stone cold sipping whiskey here. This is fantastic stuff. Bibb, B-I-B, and Tucker. Bibb and Tucker. And so, yeah, that's about all the wisdom I have today. And by the way, before I forget, give us a like on the Joe's The Cold War Diaries page on Facebook. Give us a follow, give us a like, share the video, share these videos. Every book we sell helps raise more money for American Gold Star mothers. I'm going to be talking about that in a future version of the Booze Briefing. So with that, Rock of the Mar, Rampage, and we pierce.
Dismissed!